Well, Carley, I've heard so many great things about you, and I love all of your little segments with Janice Dean, so I'm so excited to talk with you today.
Oh my gosh, it's so good to be talking to you. Thank you so much for inviting me onto your amazing podcast. And yeah, Janice and I just started doing these social media videos. We spend all morning long together and we have so many good chats. So we said, why don't we record a minute of it and just have a lot of fun? Most of them involve food.
Well, keep doing them. I love them.
Aw, thank you.
But I want to start at the very beginning. I want to talk about little you. Where did you grow up? What was your childhood like? All of that.
Well, I grew up in a little town in New Jersey called Long Valley. It's closer to Pennsylvania, so it's very rural, and it's got, historic sort of revolutionary feel. Beautiful little area, not really commutable into New York City. Although I guess some people do it, but they spend like 2 hours in the car both ways. And yeah, my mom and dad, and I'm so grateful for this, very religious. I grew up in a deeply religious household and still hold those beliefs today. Also grew up in a Fox News watching household. So I was deeply influenced by my growing up years and in terms of my beliefs and way of, thinking about the world today. And yeah, I had a really good childhood and a great high school experience. And yeah, that's a little bit about how I grew up and where I came from.
You said that you grew up in a rural neighborhood. Do you feel like that has influenced you as you've moved on through your career in talking to people?
Yeah, I don't think that a lot of people, when people think of New Jersey, they think of the turnpike and they think of houses really close together.
Yeah.
And that's the total perception. But there's it's called the Garden State for a reason. And I grew up in an area where there was a lot of farmland and horse farms. And absolutely, especially in terms of the farming and agriculture. Not all of Long Valley is like that, but there was a big part of it. As a matter of fact, we feature some of the Long Valley farms on Fox Business segments like Ort Farm, and I'm always like, oh my gosh, that's where I grew up. And yeah, the thing that one of the things that I like most about working at Fox is that it really does give voice to people who, if not for this network, they wouldn't have one. And talking to people who live in places outside of the coast, middle America, or people who work farms. And the farming industry is becoming sort of an increasingly dwindling thing in terms of family farms and small farms. I mean, the overhead it costs so much to run these farms. And, we talk to people about that and doing those sorts of segments about, real stories about the challenges that people face on a day-to-day basis. Growing up in that atmosphere and that environment certainly made me interested in those types of things.
Yeah, and that's a good segue. So when did you actually realize that you wanted to go into journalism and pursue this type of path?
Well, my mom says that it was from when I was even like early on. You know how parents can sense things in their that they don't even know? She said that every time she watched the news, I was immediately, like, my head would turn. I was immediately transfixed, even before I understood the stories. But I think I appreciated the presentation of it. And then when you start to really get to know the stories a little bit more and understand and have a better understanding of the world around you, maybe in high school, is when I said, wow, this is something that I really want to do. I wasn't interested in doing anything else. Like, there was no real fallback. I always knew I wanted to be in TV news. And I majored in it, always with the goal of working at Fox, really. And I did an internship at Fox, and that's how I got my first job.
Wow, it's actually rare that somebody knows that early on that that's specifically what they want to do. Sometimes people look up to those in news, of the people I've talked with, look up to those in news and think, oh, maybe I could do something like that. But to know that you wanted to not only work in news, but that you wanted to work for Fox, like, you had a very specific path.
I know. Well, you know what I should say, because every person has, when you're young, you're still trying to form your own identity, right? So there was part of me that was, and these, couldn't be more polar opposite in terms of the way my life could go. Part of me was like, when I majored in journalism and I wanted to work at Fox, I was also deeply interested in service. And I did a lot of service trips with my church. And when I went to a school in Connecticut, I went to a school called Quinnipiac. And there was an institute that would send kids to Nicaragua for spring break and other places. But I went to Nicaragua, and I think that was their main focus. And after I went on the Nicaragua trip, I was like, I may join the Peace Corps. So it was either Peace Corps or Fox News. I mean, thankfully I get a little bit of both worlds because Fox has a lot of service as well. And we feature charities. And I think it's so important to give back in that kind of way. But I could have been traveling the world had I chosen that.
So where did you go first in your career?
Well, so like I said, I interned in the DC bureau in 2008. That was when I was a junior, and
for Fox.
For Fox News at the booking desk, and that was a really interesting experience. And I always say to young people who are like, I don't know if I want to go to college, and it's a lot of money. I hear that sometimes the education isn't exactly what you need, and I say go. Because you're paying for your internship. Because getting your foot in the door that way and getting an internship and then maintaining a relationship with whoever has the power to hire you, human resources, is a very good thing. So that would be my advice there. But so I had the internship, and then I got my first job was as a green room greeter for Fox Business. So I would pick up the guests when they enter the lobby, and I would bring them to the various green rooms. And that was great because you get to meet all these really cool people, really like big money makers when I was working at Fox Business. And then I became Don Imus's assistant, who is a radio legend. And his show was at the tail end of his career. He was simulcasting a show, a radio show through WBC and Fox Business, and I was his assistant. And he knew that I wanted to be on the air, and he gave me a shot. So I credit him endlessly with helping me and reach my dreams and goals.
And was he primarily radio at the time?
Yeah, well, it was both. So his career, and he was really famous in the 70s, and he and Howard Stern had a very famous rivalry. But his radio show was simulcasted on Fox Business. So there were TV cameras. It was a really well-done operation. And I was working on the TV side for him. And I was getting him coffee and doing, all the things that when you're 22, you do as an assistant.
Yep.
And he's, kind of a notoriously grumpy guy, but also with the soft side. And he showed me that and really helped me along. So... yeah, he's passed away, and he passed away several years ago now. And I often wonder, for anybody who knows Don Imus, and I'm sure they thought the same thing, but I often wonder what he'd think about this particular political landscape. He'd have very interesting things to say about it.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of your time in the green room, escorting these guests, now do you see those people walking down the hallway, those young
my gosh,
minds?
Yes. And I can immediately transport myself back to that because, it was, 2010, so 15 years ago now for me. But what a time, right, to be 22 years old and just starting your career, and there's so many questions. And I always, because I had so much help along the way with especially women anybody, but women in this building have been so wonderful in terms of guidance. And now I try as best I can with whatever 15 years of knowledge I have collected to impart it upon them and also give them encouragement, because it can be, a little bit of a scary thing to go from college to starting a job and living in a big city. And what do I do? And how do I handle this sort of situation? So anybody who wants to talk to me at any time, my door is always open.
Yeah, you lean over to those greeters and say, that used to be me.
Yeah, absolutely. And the interns too, because I interned here.
Yeah, so how did you make that step? You said that you finally got a little foot into
Yeah.
being on air. How did that transform?
Right. So, well, like I said, Don Imus really helped me out with that. And he had me reading viewer emails and doing some really simple things. He would, poke fun at me on the air and I would respond back. And then I started doing things on other Fox News shows that were all very focused on what young people would be interested in, like pop culture and Hollywood. But I always was very interested and in tune to politics, and that's what I wanted to do. And so it just started to grow from there. At first, it was lighthearted things, and then it became a little bit more serious, and then a little bit more, and then I found a home on Fox and Friends, which has been a wonderful experience. And the show is so much fun, and it's 3 hours, so you get to do, like, for example, today we had a Halloween segment where this woman came on and showed the anchors how to paint styrofoam pumpkins to make them look really pretty. And then we were talking about, King Charles and Pope Leo meeting and praying for the first time. It's the first time that's happened in 500 years. And then there was a breaking news story on the NBA. And then there was, obviously the government shut down. So there's so much to talk about. It's like mind blowing. But that's what I like about it, because you can have fun and then there's serious stuff to talk about too.
Yeah, let's talk more about Fox and Friends. How did that opportunity come about? And do you remember your first time being on that show?
Oh my gosh. Yes. And I was so nervous. It's just, it's Fox and Friends. It's like, to
Iconic.
me, I mean, I used to watch it when I was in high school and I felt like they were my friends, the
Yeah.
people on the air, Brian and Steve. And so I called my mom and I was like, they invited me on to do a guest segment. And we were talking about an award show, I believe. And she, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And yeah, I remember it. And I tried not to be nervous, but of course you are. But the anchors and Ainsley, Lawrence, and Brian are so easy to talk to that the second they start the conversation, it's just a conversation. And so many guests have said that. They were like, oh, I was nervous in the beginning, and then it just became a conversation. And that's the goal, is just to talk to people.
Is there any funny or memorable moments on air, maybe on Fox and Friends, maybe on another segment that didn't go as planned?
Oh, yes. And there was one big glaring one that I'll never forget. And it was one of my first times on the air on Don Imus's show. So this is when I was maybe 23, 24 at the most.
Okay.
And he had me reading a viewer email. And so people used to write in their emails and I would pick the email. I would pick it and I would make the graphic that would show up on the TV and I would read it. It was a very simple job.
Yes.
And somebody wrote in a fake name, like Ben Dover. It was that, but Stephanie, so much worse. It was a really bad curse word that the first and last name made. And I said it on Fox Business and WABC Radio. And it was mortifying. And I can't believe it was so long ago. And for a laugh, it is on YouTube. I will not say it on this podcast.
I was going to say, at least TikTok did not exist at that time, right?
I know. It was so bad. And because it was like a morning radio show, it was chatty and talky and funny. So everybody who was like really on the show, like immediately was like, she did not just say that. Oh my gosh. And then it hit me what I had said and that it was a fake name and it was all on me.
Yeah.
That did not go according to plan.
That's hilarious. Yeah. How do you, and I want to know, what do you think are some skills that women that want to get to where you are and become an anchor on a show like Fox and Friends, what skills do you think that they need to have?
Well, I think drive and and determination. So if you want to do it, that's probably 50% of it, right? This isn't a skill. I'm going to turn off my baby monitor's going off. I have an
Oh,
app, so I don't want it to interfere. This isn't so much of a skill, but it is a hot tip. And it's one that seems a little obvious, but I notice that young people that I talk to sometimes shy away from doing this. But I think that a lot of people feel like, oh, it's obvious if you become a production assistant that you want to be on air, and then they feel a little embarrassed about it. Have you ever run into that? So you just don't be. You have one life. You have one shot at it. Tell your boss. Tell your boss that that's your ultimate goal, and say, this job right now is my main focus, but that's what I want to do one day. And maybe there'll be a man on the street opportunity where they give you a camera and a microphone, and you can ask the questions, and that's how things start. And if you do a good job, you get another opportunity and another opportunity. In terms of skills, just natural curiosity is a really good one. And also being read in, which is something that anybody can do. There was one intern who said to me recently, and I thought it was really sweet and also very understanding, but she was like, I just don't feel like I know enough about things that are going on. And I was like, you are 19 years old. You shouldn't. You should not. That will change, and that will, and the best way that you could do it is read the Wall Street Journal every day. Read the Wall Street Journal up. The editorial board is fantastic. Read that every single day. And in a month, you will know more about things than most people do.
That's such good advice, because being well read is a good chunk of your job.
Yeah.
We talk about on this podcast, you can do all the prep, and then you have to throw it away. In a way, you have to be able to listen.
Yeah.
But if you don't do the prep work ahead of time, that can make that part, the listening part, really challenging.
Oh, and you know what, Stephanie, you just said something that's a good reminder to me too, because sometimes when you do the prep and you have your prepared questions, you get so set on that. Like, I want to ask these things, and then you can miss something that somebody says. So it's good to be able to deviate.
Yeah. Are there any story moments that you've covered that really stand out to you?
Yes. A lot. The first one that comes to mind, it has to do with the Israel October 7th and talking to the families of hostages who, by the grace of God, the last 20 living hostages have just been released.
Yes.
But I mean, these families were desperate for so long, knowing that their family member the good news was alive, but the bad news was being held hostage for how long could they be killed in captivity. And talking to those people will be something that will stick with me for the rest of my life. That's something that you never forget. Never forget.
Yeah. What did that teach you?
Well, that one really taught me to listen and give them the floor to tell their story and talk about their family member. It also taught me a lot about the strength of people to have the ability to go on television after such a horrific tragedy. And I am constantly amazed by people who can do that.
Yeah.
And so impressed with them, and people who are so eloquent in these horrific, difficult times when I think most people, including myself, wouldn't even be able to breathe or form, coherent sentences. But I think for a lot of people, they felt so driven to show the image of their loved one. And it felt like it was, giving them purpose, and like they were doing the most that they possibly could. And they were. And I will probably never meet these people outside of talking to them through a screen, but I felt and still feel so connected to them because you're talking to them in the worst moments of their lives, in such a desperate situation.
Yeah.
So, and some of them, some of the people that I spoke to, even after it happened, especially one brother, just got his brother back, and I'll never forget how desperate he was and how I'm sure happy he is now. But those tough stories are the ones that stay with you.
It teaches you in these moments too how much empathy is important when talking to these people.
Yeah, and I think that with anything too, talking to people who just lost a loved one in any way is always very delicate. And I think that for people who've just been through something traumatic, giving them the floor and then showing them some grace and kindness, especially sometimes I talk to them before the interview. I just say hi and introduce myself, and that sort of breaks the ice.
Yeah.
So that's something that, I could talk to producers, say, hey, can I talk to this person? Even if, they're not in studio, and say hi and, introduce yourself and say, we're here to support you.
Yeah.
Because you just went through something awful, and we want to share your story in the way you want it to be shared.
Yeah, that's good advice. How do you also handle the pressure in high stakes news situations on air?
Yeah, my goodness. Sometimes it just hits you so fast, right? That you're like, oh, I guess this is happening. And then you just like get in it. That's really what it is. And I think you just have to treat it a little bit like anything else. The biggest thing that happens for our show is because it's at 5:00 in the morning. So I host Fox and Friends First with Todd Pyro, and then I read headlines on Fox and Friends. So Fox and Friends First is 5 a.m. Eastern time. That's when it starts. So when any president goes overseas is sometimes when we get the breaking news. And you can prepare for those situations as much as you possibly can, and then just things happen, and you kind of have to roll with it. And you know what else I've gathered is any mistake that you make is on air. It doesn't come across as bad as you think it is. And any good moment you have also doesn't come across as great as you think it is.
That is so true.
Isn't it so true? Sometimes you're like, man, I nailed that. And then if you have the opportunity to watch it back, you're like, that was fine. But if there's any sort of mistake, so you just have to say, for instance, you stumble over something. Okay, fine. It happened. It's live news.
Yeah. Well, and also the silences are so much shorter than you think they are. If you forget something and you're like, oh my gosh, I just sat there for 30 seconds not saying anything, and you watch it back, it was 2 seconds, but in your mind, it was so much longer.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. And just kind of try and make it a conversation, That's all it is. It's also for us, it's 5:00 in the morning. A lot of people are still in their jammies and brushing their teeth. So you have to take that into consideration.
Yeah. Well, and that makes another great point is that, it is 5 a.m. So just lean into that. Be like, oh, I'm tired. Oh my gosh, I didn't get my coffee this morning. Clearly, be relatable. That's one of the biggest things.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And and those are the guests who I think are the best too, are the ones that they have a story that anybody can relate to, or maybe not, but tell it in a relatable way. And that's what people want to hear.
Yeah. How do you handle also politically charged conversations and interviews?
Well, we do it every day.
Yeah.
And it is a politically charged environment. How do I handle it? I let people talk. So a lot of times the best questions are the shortest ones. So you can prepare a lot. And this is something that I've worked on throughout my career is I think in the beginning, you want everybody to know that you know a lot, because you work so hard and you want to come off smart. And, and then in listening to other people, Stephanie, and listening to other people that I look up to at this network, in particular, I think Brett Baer does such a good job of keeping it simple and letting people speak, because they don't want to, who cares what we're talking to a guest for a reason. We booked this person because it's their time. So that's how I handle those conversations.
Speaking of skills and what skills that aspiring journalists and journalists need to have, and I'm sure you get resume tapes or reels to look at, what sticks out to you as somebody that that they are a really strong reporter or a really strong anchor?
Well, I don't really get a whole lot of that, but I can tell you that when I see other people on TV, if we ever hire a new person, I'm like, oh, that person's really good. And, we just hired Fox Weather is probably our one of our newest entities.
Yes.
And so there are a bunch of Fox weather folk. I'm not a weather girl. A lot of weather folks that were new faces, not so new anymore, but were in the beginning. And I am just so impressed at them in a storm and just the ability to maintain focus and keep it conversational, you know, and, you know, show us what's going on. And then I think it's just the folks that make it the most, like we keep on using this word, relatable, but also just a conversation where they tell us what they're experiencing and feeling. And it doesn't have to be all these crazy terms. But sometimes people just shine because they keep it simple, you know, and it can be sometimes, you know, the easiest way of handling things is the best.
Yeah. Carley does not get resume or reel tapes. That's hard to believe.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
I don't. Unless people are sending them to me in some way and I'm not seeing them. But no, I don't get those tapes.
Oh man, the listeners right now, they're looking for your email. I'm sorry.
Aw. Well, best of luck to all those out there.
Yeah. Let's also talk about your book, Cooking with Friends. I love that. Tell me about that.
It was such a fun project to work on. So it was an idea because Fox and Friends does cooking segments. I mentioned one of them that wasn't so much cooking, but it was a craft with the pumpkins. But we do these food segments where people would come on and talk about their favorite family meal. And it's something that Fox and Friends has been doing for years and years. So Cooking with Friends was a compilation of a lot of those recipes. And with the added element of some of my own, because at the time I was a very new mom. We shot the cover of Cooking with Friends about a month or 3 weeks after I gave birth. Probably a month. But he's in one of the pictures too. I mean, he's such a fresh baby. And I was still on my maternity leave, so it was fun to see everybody and come back and be surrounded by all this delicious food. But it was so much fun to work on. And it's got a lot of good stories from people who you see on Fox every single day and their favorite recipes. And that's a good way of getting to know people too, right? Because it's news and work and everybody's in this, you know, corporate structure and TV cameras. But every single person, no matter what political side you are on, we all want the same things. We all want to go home and have fun and eat a good meal with your families. And after a long work week, that's what you look forward to doing, right? Yeah. That's what I want to do. Yeah. So the book is sort of a celebration of that.
What are some of your go-to meals?
Well, if my son were to be asked that, he would say chicken nuggets and meatballs because he's turning into those two food items. They're his favorite. Yeah. I like to make, and this isn't in the book, but I like to make these salmon. They're like salmon sushi bowls and you put like the Asian mayo in it and you mash up the sushi or the cooked salmon and you eat it with seaweed. It's like the easiest thing in the world. And it's something that I make almost every other day. It's like my salmon intake is through the roof.
My mom's too.
Right? Yeah. And then there's a couple good breakfast recipes in the book. Rachel Campostuffy's lemon ricotta pancakes is something that I've incorporated. They're delicious. And I make a pretty good lasagna. And then sometimes I just put chicken thighs and chicken legs in the oven, and that's what we're having.
Yeah. Well,
it runs the
go
gambit.
Ahead.
It runs the gambit, I said.
Speaking of which, let's talk about family. Congratulations, by the way. You're still of a new mom. How old is your son now?
Well, so he's a little over 2.5. Yeah. And very funny. People like warn you about the terrible twos, and maybe there's a little bit of that, but so far it's been my favorite phase because 2 is when they start to become like really funny and they know that they're being funny and they start to be able to form fuller sentences. And It's really cool to see the little man that he's like the little personality. And it's crazy to think back to 2.5 years ago when he was, just an infant and what he's becoming.
Yeah, my daughter just turned 3 in July.
Oh, so we were pregnant at the same time.
Yeah. And I would agree with you. 0 to 1 was way harder for me than the 1 plus.
Yes.
Every single month now, the personality just continues to grow, the things they learn. I love this age.
Isn't that so cute? Oh my gosh. I so love this age. And have people warned you? They say that there's like the three-nager thing. Have you experienced any of that yet?
A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit. But it's still like, it's so great. Like,
and it's so innocent.
Yes, exactly. I love this age. 0 to 1 was much more like, just a lot on me, like a lot. But I always said, I was like, once they hit, and everyone at a newborn stage, when you tell them this, I'm like, once they hit 7 months, that's when they start really like starting to develop that personality. I was like, get through that first 0 to 6 month infant stage, and then you're going to really start to see it. And then everyone always tells me, you're right. Like, Stephanie, oh my gosh. Yes.
I say the same thing. I say 7 to 8 months, and that's when they really become like squishy and chubby too.
Yeah. That's
and like babbly.
Yeah.
That's the best. And then it just keeps on getting better and better. Humanity presses forward for a reason. We love our kids. They're just so cute.
How has motherhood changed your perspective on your career once you returned? Or has it?
I think the way that it has is that, and I'm sure that you've experienced this too. Everybody does. You don't have to be in TV news to do it, but it has, just because I guess it's my job, is news stories hit you so differently, like the direction of the country and really, the tragic stories.
Yes.
You put yourself in these people's positions and just pray to God. God, please, bless these people. And, I pray that my family stays safe. That's how it's affected me. I think that everything just because the stakes are higher because you have somebody who you love out there in the world more than yourself.
Yeah. And people tell you this before you have kids and you're like, yeah. But once you have a kid, you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The perspective.
Oh my gosh, isn't that the truth? And it just grows. It keeps on growing. And then it becomes more and more real. So my son isn't in school yet. He goes to like little classes, but he's not in school. But then when they enter school, you're like giving your like the person who was you up to the world and just going, okay, go.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
How has the schedule been like for you in that shift with also having a young child? I'm so curious because a lot of women that are in this field, they talk about the schedule and handling the schedule.
The crazy schedule. So that I remember losing, like that would make me lose sleep when I was pregnant because, you work so hard, and before you have a baby, if you're a career focused person, which everybody is who's listening to this podcast, I mean, your whole life revolves around your career. And then you do something that's like going to be even bigger than that. And you go, how do I fit everything in a day? So my alarm goes off at 1:30 in the morning. And actually, by the grace of God, it works for me, I think, because I can be, if I don't have any other shows to do after Fox and Friends, I could be done with work at 9 a.m. So I think that the good side of it is that I think that I get to see my son more than people who work 9 to 5 jobs. Like I definitely spend more time with my son than my husband does, who has a regular schedule. The bad side of it is that you don't get a lot of sleep. So there's a couch right there and I will have full REM cycle dreams on it sometimes. So I usually split up my sleep. So I'll sleep like, say for instance, noon to 2:30, I'll take a nap. Like that's 2.5 hours. And then I'll go to bed at 9:30 or 10 at night. So late. Oh my gosh. And then I wake up at 1:30. So I'm like splitting it up.
Oh my, 9:30 or 10. But your husband, you said, works a standard 9 to 5. So after he gets home, you still want to be able to hang out with him too.
That's the thing. And you know what? I say 9 to 5. It's more like I 8 to 7:30 So that's kind of why right now I sort of push back this is getting boring, but I push back Brock's nap time or sleep time because I want him to spend time with my husband. And
Yeah.
aren't we just so tired?
Yes. We always
Everybody's
are.
so tired. But yeah, so that's kind of the deal with the sleep is I don't really get much. I feel like I'm turning black inside, but I'm also very happy.
The dichotomy of it all.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of that work-life balance, do you ever feel mom guilt?
Yes. Yes, I do. I do. I actually feel it right now. I was like almost a little weepy earlier this morning for silly things.
Yeah.
But I I do because sometimes you just feel, and this is like just the honest truth, is that you want to have this great career and you want to be the most present mom. And sometimes you're like, am I doing a good job at both? Or am I like actually failing at both?
Right.
Because you try and squeeze so much in and then you're like, I just want to. So, and then sometimes, if you're so busy, and like I said, because I have to, so that my husband can see my son, I sleep through a little bit of the day. And then I'm like, why didn't I spend that time with him? But then you're kind of killing yourself and you don't want to miss your alarm for work the next day.
Yes.
And then I think, oh my goodness, what if I look back when he's 18 and I'm like, I slept through some of his twos. Oh my
Yes.
God, Stephanie,
Yes.
it's so true. So
The
yeah,
cycle.
mom guilt is a real thing. I think that the thing that comforts me is that when my friends say everybody feels it, and then,
Yes.
you feel a little grounded again.
I would also argue that I might be more productive now as a mom than I was pre-mom.
Yeah.
Because I don't have time to mess around with the fluff. Like,
Yes.
if I don't get something done now, it's not getting done.
If you want something done, give it to a busy person and they'll get it done. If you don't want it done, then give it to somebody who's just, kind of gliding through life and then they'll maybe get to it eventually. I think that's so true. And you can squeeze, I squeeze the same amount of stuff. I squeeze so much more into the same time period and it still gets done and it gets done. The goal is well. And I think well. And yeah, and I was doing, and like, what were we doing before kids? We had all this time.
What did we do? A nap in the middle of the day just because?
I know, right? Now it's like critical.
Yeah. Speaking of your husband, you've been married now 10 years, right?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, we got married in 2015. And actually, a majority of our marriage was a long distance marriage. He lived in Chicago and I lived in New York.
Oh.
Yeah. So we met in New York City and then we dated here and then he got a job transferred to Chicago and I was going to follow him, but I didn't want to leave Fox. So in every single time I thought about it, I moved up a little bit on the ladder and I just never wanted to. And he knew that if ever he like really begged and, twisted my arm, I would regret it and, begrudge him over it. So he never put pressure on me. And we just, every weekend, we would fly back and forth. He would come to New York or I would go to Chicago throughout our marriage. Even during, the hardest part was COVID because if you remember 5 years ago, can you believe it? For a lot of that, like you couldn't, in New York City, you couldn't travel out of the state. You could only travel through the tri-state area. So there were periods of time where we weren't seeing each other. I mean, there are military families who have it far, far worse. But it was a unique situation in that we were married and not living in the same city.
Yeah, how tough was that? Because a lot of journalists deal with the long distance relationship.
Yeah, being an assignment. I don't think it was. It's something that you get used to. And then you're always so excited for the weekends. Sundays were not the best days because when it was your turn to travel, it's like ripping the Band-Aid off every single time. Like, oh, I got to go to the airport. Or, oh, he's leaving. That stinks. But then, the next Friday is right around the corner.
Yeah.
So I didn't really find it that difficult. It wasn't ideal. It was expensive to do the travel and have the 2 apartments. And mine was like the size of my office. Like it was so small for that reason because it's like, why are we spending all this money? So it was teeny, 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 tiny for like 10 years. And a 5-story walk up. And it was so bad. You should have seen it. Like my oven was like a mini. Living in New York City is a unique
Yes,
experience.
I bet. How many years have you guys been together?
We met in 2009, and we started dating in 2010, so 15.
Okay, that's about the same time for my husband and I. We've been married 7, but we started dating in 2009.
Yeah.
So,
Oh
like,
God.
same around the
Oh my gosh,
same
our lives
time.
are so parallel in
Yeah.
terms of timing.
Yeah. So, I want to ask you, I hate using the what's the secret to a happy marriage, but what has contributed to the longevity for you?
Well, luckily for me, my husband is the most agreeable person in the world and the most flexible person in the world. But I do think that um, it sounds obvious, but what's helped me and him is really good communication. So sometimes I'll text him and I'll say, because, I don't know, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, right?
Right.
So certain things that I worry about or care about, he would like roll off his back and wouldn't even be a thing. But for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, like things with Brock and my son. Um, so I'll text him, I'll be like, I'll whatever the issue is, and I'll be like, it would be great if you could also make this a really big deal. Like, so when you come home, even if you're faking it, like meet me at my level.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, got it. I'll make it a big deal. And that's kind of one of our tricks.
Yeah. And understanding that sometimes you get an argument, sometimes you dislike your husband, sometimes
Yes, exactly.
he drives you crazy.
And then just go your separate ways for a little bit.
Yeah.
The like never go to sleep angry thing, I think it's completely unrealistic. Sometimes you're going to go to sleep angry.
Yep.
But then you just gotta work it out and communicate. And sometimes I find that writing things down is the best as opposed to face conversations, even though you're married to this person and you're married to the goal is your best friend. But sometimes if I write something out, I like get fully how I want to express it and it's not so hot. And then I will send him an email with like what I want to say. And then he'll respond back. And that's kind of how we do. We rarely fight. Rarely.
Yes.
But if ever something comes up that's like a big deal and, makes me feel a certain way, sometimes I handle it in writing because then it takes the, really angry emotions out and then you come to a solution sooner.
That's so true.
Right.
That's so true. The writing has helped us too.
Right?
It really does. Sometimes you just can't verbally talk it out and you just need to like write it out.
I think it's really helpful, because then you can think about it and you're not, emotions get to the best of everybody, even really calm people.
Yeah.
And so if you write it out, you can at least be like, do I really want to phrase something that way? It feels really good if I do, but maybe I'll phrase it a different way.
Yeah. Before we get to the rapid fire round, I want to know, for those that want to get into the business and step in your shoes one day, what advice would you give them?
Like I said, you only have one life, so you have to be happy in what you do. I mean, you spend so much time in your career. But I think, like I said, being open and honest about what your goal is, even if it's a little bit uncomfortable, is important. Say yes to absolutely every opportunity. If you are, working as a production assistant or just out of college at a news network or a local station, you're going to have to work the weekends. You're going to have to work the holidays. You're going to have the crazy shifts. I'm still doing it. I say yes to absolutely everything. And also be nice to people and avoid gossip and avoid drama. And if people are talking about other people, exit the conversation or take the high road and also be easy to work with because producers want to work with people who are easy to work with. So those are some little things that may seem obvious, but could sort of fall by the wayside. But just if you're nice, if you're hardworking, if you're agreeable, if you say yes, I think that you're going to be off to a really good start.
Yeah. My 2 mantras: work hard, be kind.
That's it.
Isn't
that it? work hard and be kind.
Yeah.
And you know what? There was I don't want to take up too much time, but there was somebody who just said to me that her schedule, she's in her early 20s, her schedule's crazy, and she has to do this, this, and this, and should I stick up for myself and say no? And I said, if you feel like you need to stick up for yourself, like somebody's taking advantage of you, then yes. But if you're talking about opportunities that you're getting that fall on weekends and you don't want to do them because your friends are out, you're getting opportunities that people would kill for. Say yes to those. And then she said, everybody else is telling me right now that I should be saying no and standing up for myself. And, it's a little bit of the victim thing. I think that's going around, with younger generations is, I shouldn't be having to work that hard, or, I have, everybody has to work hard in order to get ahead. And I think it's the easiest way to get ahead is by displaying displaying that you can work the hardest. It's a great way to succeed.
Yeah. And not even just getting ahead in our careers, but just getting ahead in life.
Yeah. Exactly.
Work hard, be kind.
Yeah. Work hard, be kind, write out your to-do lists. I'm a big writer-adder of to-do lists.
Now that you're a mom, though, are you a half yes girl or are you still a full yes girl?
Well, so in your younger years, you're a full yes girl. So when you become a mom and you have these other things, you can understandably sometimes be a half yes girl.
Yeah. Ready for rapid fire?
Let's do it.
Okay. Fill in the blank. If I weren't a journalist, I would be.
Oh. Okay, well, I told you already that it was my one and only choice. But let me think. If I weren't a journalist, I would own a bakery.
Oh, I love that. I mean, it makes sense with your cooking book, too.
I would love to own a bakery. Every time I go in a bake shop, I'm like, these people have the best jobs.
Yeah. Oh, your coffee order.
Ooh, my coffee order is right now a pumpkin spice latte.
I love a pumpkin spice latte.
Who doesn't?
Everyone hates on the pumpkin spice latte.
I'm a chai tea girl too. I love chai tea.
Oh, I love chai tea too. Your favorite travel destination?
Croatia. Oh my gosh. We went to Croatia a couple years ago and I was like, I cannot believe this country is real. It is historic, medieval, right next to crystal clear blue waters. Highly recommend.
Your favorite restaurant?
Taco Bell.
What?
Yeah.
Actually, you did say that on one of your little videos with Janice Dean. I did watch that one.
It's true. It has been my whole life, and I stand by it. Although I did have Del Taco. I don't know do you have Del Tacos by you? I think it's a West Coast thing.
I don't know if they're in California, but they are. I did a lot of my news career in Arizona, and I swear they're in Arizona.
Yeah, for sure. I can't find one around here, but Del Taco makes a good taco too.
Well, what's your go-to order at Taco Bell then?
Okay, I like a bean burrito. I do. I know it seems like a little yucky, but the bean burrito is delicious. And a hard shell taco supreme is all you need.
Okay. What about the cinnamon twists?
So good. And the cheesy fiesta potatoes, they took them off the menu for a little while, which was tragic, but now they're back on.
Oh my goodness. Any restaurants that you also enjoy going to? You are in New York City after all.
Fast food?
Yeah.
Okay. We have so many good restaurants around here. Like Del Frisco's. It's Del Frisco's is the steakhouse that's right next to Fox. It's a classic. It's a staple for obvious reasons. Keen Steakhouse, if you're ever in New York City, Keen Steakhouse is so good. And they have this really cool thing. You walk in, you see all these pipes, like old school smoking pipes that men used to smoke, hanging up on the walls. And they're from like the 1800s. And I think they even have pipes from former presidents. And they've hung them from the walls, but the food is delicious and the atmosphere is really good too. And then the two Central Park restaurants, we just were at the Boathouse, which is a classic, and Tavern on the Green. The Boathouse has a really good ambiance because you're right on the lake. But Tavern on the Green has, I think, better food, and it's really pretty. So those would be my New York City recommendations.
Love it. And Taco Bell.
And Taco Bell.
Something people often get wrong about you.
You know, people, when I first meet them, are usually surprised at my height. I'm 5'10", and a lot of times I'm wearing heels, so they're surprised at how tall I am.
Oh, you would think if you were already 5'10" and you wear heels, then on air you would look tall. But do you not stand a lot? Are you sitting a lot of the time?
Well, I'm sitting for first. For friends, it is a standing shot. But I think when, I don't know, I just get it a lot. They're like, oh, I had no idea how tall you are. And I said, yep, that's me. I'm a tall one.
The last movie, TV show, or book you watched and loved?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, this is going back a while now, but I was a rabid Game of Thrones fan, and I read the books too, and I watched the series. So I would say deep, passionate love, Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. Love it.
But I like anything period. Any period. Downton Abbey I loved. Peaky Blinders I loved. Anything that isn't present day or in a mystical fantasy world.
You watched The Gilded Age yet?
I haven't watched The Gilded Age. You know why? Because I heard that in the first more than one season, right?
Yes.
Did you watch it and like it?
I watched it. I haven't watched a lot of it, but it's good so far.
It is okay. Yeah. So I must have gotten a recommendation. Somebody that I can't. Was it my mom? Somebody said that it wasn't their favorite, but then I heard everybody raving about it, so I got to go back and watch that.
So many women on this podcast have recommended it to me, so that's how I started watching it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, I'm gonna watch it.
A snapshot of an ordinary, everyday moment that gives you true joy.
Oh, when my son wakes up from his nap and I'm home and he's, when they're all like cozy and snuggly and like sleepy in their eyes and sweet. And he says, "Hi, Mama." That's joy.
That was this morning with my daughter Willow, and she's like, "Lay back down." I'm like, "Mommy has to do an interview. Lay back down."
Oh, Willow.
Yeah.
Oh, so sweet. I love that name too.
Oh, thank you.
Love that name. That's beautiful.
If you could switch lives with one person for a day, who would it be?
Dolly Parton.
Such a good answer.
Dolly Parton. I mean, she's universally loved.
Yes.
Her wardrobe is phenomenal.
Yes.
Everything is glitter and gold. And she's just the sweetest, most talented person. Dolly for sure.
Icon. One thing you're deeply grateful for right now?
My husband was just away on a work trip, and when he came back, I was like, I missed him so much. So right now I'm feeling grateful for my husband, and also the fact that it's this time of year. Isn't the fall the best?
The best.
We have, I keep on buying pumpkins and I have nowhere to put them. I have like 9 or 10 pumpkins in my apartment, and I'm just like gourd season is the best. So I'm grateful for the fall.
The fall and I'm from the Midwest originally. The fall in the Midwest and the Northeast is chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss. But you could still do the pumpkins anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, Los Angeles is nice weather all year round, but it just sometimes doesn't feel that feeling of fall, that crisp. I love it.
Yeah. But LA, you can't beat it.
You can't beat the weather. Can't beat it. Last question.
Okay.
If you could go back in time to when you first started your career, what piece of advice would you give yourself?
I would say, and it's something that I guess I did, but work hard and pray. Give it to God. And there are going to be, and there were, bumps in the road and rocks and a lot of no's. And just keep on praying about it. And those no's were I guess what I've learned is that those no's were no's for a reason, and I wasn't, ready to do those
Mm,
things, but they felt so crushing at the time, but it's gonna be okay.
yeah.
So, there's somebody bigger than you. Sometimes it's hard to remember that when you're disappointed about things, but
I
it all
recently
happens for a
heard
reason.
I recently heard Gabby Bernstein say, "It's never no, it's either yes, not yet, or something better."
I love that so much. I love that so much.
Yeah.
And it's hard to you have to hear those things when you're, like, willing to receive them. So thank you for telling me that right now, and then you can reflect on them when you're feeling, a little bit disappointed because my goodness, there are gonna be those days and those periods, longer than days, where you're just feeling like, "Oh, what's going on? Like, is everything gonna be okay?"
Yep.
But of course it will be because if, God's on everybody's side and he's got you.
Carley, you are a ray of sunshine.
Oh,
Thank you
so are
so much for
you.
talking with
Oh,
me today.
Stephanie, thank you for inviting me. I love talking to you.
And where can people find you, follow you, watch you, all the things?
Okay. Well, you can watch me on Fox News Channel at 5 a.m. Eastern time. So I know it's early. And 6 to 9. And, popping up on different Fox News shows throughout the day. The social media platform that I am by far the most active on is Instagram at
Me
Carley
too.
Shimkus. So I would love a follow there.